Commander John Hart gripped the spaceship's controls tightly as it shook violently, alarms blaring throughout the cabin. Lieutenant Mark Evans beside him watched the rapidly fluctuating dashboard with concern. "We've got multiple system failures," Mark shouted over the din. "Thrusters are offline, and the navigation system is completely malfunctioning." John glanced around at his crew, noting the fear in their eyes. "Brace for impact," he ordered. "We're going down." The crew quickly strapped themselves in as the spaceship plummeted toward the planet Zalera. Through the viewport, they saw the lush green canopy rushing toward them. With a deafening crash, the ship smashed through the treetops and hit the ground. Silence followed, broken only by the hissing of escaping air. John unstrapped himself and checked his crew for injuries. "Is everyone all right?" he asked. "I think so," replied Sergeant Alex Reed, wincing as he touched his shoulder. "But I'm not sure about the ship." Dr. Lucas Barnes, the mission's biologist, was already at a console trying to revive the ship systems. "Main power is out," he said. "We're not going anywhere without repairs." Outside, the unfamiliar sounds of alien wildlife filled the air. John peered out the cracked viewport. "We need to secure the perimeter." "Mark, Alex, you're with me." "Lucas, keep trying to send a distress signal. We need to let command know we're down." The men grabbed their gear and exited the ship. The planet Zalera was breathtaking, with towering flora unlike anything on Earth. As they moved through the dense underbrush, their tactical training kicked in, keeping them alert to any movement. Suddenly, Alex raised a hand, signaling them to stop. Ahead, figures moved gracefully among the trees. Tall, humanoid, and distinctly female, armed with advanced weaponry. John stepped forward, raising his hands in a universal gesture of peace. "Hello. We mean no harm. We're travelers from Earth and have crash-landed here by accident." The alien women eyed them warily, their weapons still trained on the men. One of them, taller and more authoritative, stepped forward. "We are the Zerin," she said, her voice commanding. "You have entered our world uninvited. Why should we trust you?" John kept his hands raised and his voice calm. "We understand your concern. Our arrival was unintentional. Our ship is damaged, and we only seek to repair it so we can leave. We have no intentions of causing trouble." The leader whispered to her companions, who remained watchful but lowered their weapons slightly. "You will follow us to our community. Our council will decide your fate." With no real choice, John nodded. "We'll cooperate. Lead the way." As they followed the Zerin through the lush forest, Mark whispered to John, "Think they'll help us?" John kept his eyes on their alien guide. "Let's hope their curiosity works in our favor. Stay sharp and respectful. We need them on our side if we're going to get off this planet." The Zerin led Commander John Hart, Lieutenant Mark Evans, and Sergeant Alex Reed through winding pathways lined with vibrant alien flora to a strikingly structured village. Organic architecture merged seamlessly with advanced technology, reflecting the sophistication of Zerin civilization. They were ushered into a large council hall, where intricate carvings adorned the walls depicting various aspects of Zerin life and history. The air was filled with the scent of exotic flowers and harmonious, unfamiliar music. Inside, the council of Zerin leaders awaited them, their expressions unreadable. The crew stood in the center of the hall under the watchful eyes of armed guards. A tall, regal woman stepped forward, commanding immediate attention. "I am Nalia, High Counselor of Zalera," she said, her voice calm yet strong. "Strangers, you have entered Zalera without invitation. Your presence is a serious matter. Why have you come?" Nalia's piercing gaze was fixed on John as he stepped forward with a respectful posture. "High Counselor Nalia, our intrusion was unintentional. Our ship suffered critical failures, and we crash-landed by sheer misfortune. We seek understanding and assistance to repair our ship so we can return home. We mean no disrespect." Nalia considered his words and signaled another council member, who brought forward a device to analyze the truth of John's statement. Mark leaned in and whispered to John, "Do you think they'll help us with the repairs?" John responded quietly. Let's hope their curiosity about us works in our favor. Nalia returned her attention to the crew. Your technology and circumstances will be examined. If your words prove true, we will consider your request. However, understand this. Your movements will be restricted until we decide your fate. Alex, who had been observing intently, added, We appreciate your caution and will comply with your rules. The council then discussed among themselves in a flowing, melodious language that the humans couldn't comprehend. After a moment, Nalia gestured to two Zeren who stepped forward. These are Elia and Sora. They will be your guides and overseers during your stay. Cooperate with them and ensure there are no misunderstandings. Elia, with an expression of both curiosity and skepticism, approached the crew. Follow us. We will take you to where you will be staying, she said, her tone neutral but friendly. As they were escorted out of the council hall, John looked back at the gathering of Zeren leaders, realizing the gravity of their situation. It was not just about survival now but also diplomacy. The interaction had set the stage for what John hoped would be a peaceful and cooperative few days on Zalera, despite the uncertain and potentially perilous future. Elia and Sora led the crew through winding pathways lined with vibrant alien flora to a cluster of buildings crafted from a material resembling both stone and metal. The area was surrounded by a translucent barrier that shimmered slightly in the sunlight, suggesting an energy field. This will be your quarters while you stay on Zalera, Elia explained as they arrived. We've adjusted the environment to meet your physiological needs. John, still processing the gravity of their situation, thanked Elia for their consideration. Thank you, Elia. We are grateful for your hospitality under these circumstances. As the crew settled into their temporary home, John and Mark decided to explore the immediate vicinity, closely watched by Sora. Sergeant Reed stayed behind to assist Lucas with technical assessments and repair plans. While walking, John seized the opportunity to learn more about their host planet. Elia, can you tell us more about your people and Zalera? We've noticed there are no males among your kind that we've seen. Elia's expression turned somber. Many generations ago, Zalera was much like your world, teeming with both males and females. But war changed that. We were invaded, and most of our males were lost in the conflict. Over time, our society adapted. Now, we are governed and protected by females. Mark looked around at the serene yet vigilant atmosphere. It seems like you've built a strong society. But do you ever think about reaching out beyond Zalera? Elia responded thoughtfully. The thought is there, but trust is hard. After the wars, our leaders decided isolation was safest. We've had little contact with outsiders until now. Their conversation was interrupted by Sora's sharp tone. Elia, they do not need to know all this. Remember the council's orders. Elia nodded, a subtle tension visible between her duty and personal feelings. Of course, Sora. That evening, as alien stars began to light the sky, John met privately with his crew to discuss their situation. It's clear we're not just physical survivors but now diplomats on an alien world. We need to repair our ship, yes, but also handle these interactions carefully. We might be here longer than we hoped. Lucas, despite the seriousness of their predicament, spoke with excitement. There's so much to learn here scientifically, their technology, their society. If we gain their trust, the knowledge could be invaluable. Alex, always the strategist, added. And if we play this right, maybe we can help them see the benefits of reconnecting with the galaxy. There's a lot at stake. The crew agreed to proceed with caution, balancing their urgent need to return home with the potential to foster a new relationship with the Zeren. The challenge was daunting, but they were determined to navigate this new world with as much diplomacy and tact as possible. As the days passed on Zalera, Commander John Hart and his crew adapted to their confined life under the watchful eyes of their Zeren overseers. A growing friendship between John and Elia offered a glimmer of hope. During their supervised walks, Elia began to share insights about Zeren culture and technology, cautiously divulging more information. One evening, as the sunset cast long shadows over the luminescent flora, Elia spoke in a hushed tone. John, I've been thinking a lot about what you've said about Earth and other planets. It's made me question our isolation. John looked around to ensure they were relatively alone. Elia, isolation might protect you from threats, but it also keeps you from allies. On Earth, we've learned that the right alliances can make us stronger. Elia's face reflected inner conflict. I know some technology that could help fix your ship. It's advanced and forbidden for outsiders to learn about, but I believe helping you might start a change here. John sensed the risk Elia was taking and felt the weight of her trust. We appreciate your help and won't misuse it. How can we do this without putting you in danger? Elia smiled slightly, a mix of relief and hope in her eyes. There's a hidden lab where the technology is stored. I can show you, but we must be discreet. Meanwhile, the crew continued to work on their ship, guided by Elia's stolen time and limited resources. Their interactions with Azeran became more nuanced, and John's diplomatic skills were tested daily. Despite the challenges, the crew's bond with Azeran began to shift from suspicion to cautious respect. One night, after a particularly productive day of repairs, the Zeran Council called a meeting. John, Mark, and the rest of the crew were summoned to the council hall, where the atmosphere was tense. High Counselor Nalia addressed them, her tone measured. We have reviewed your situation and progress. Your cooperation and the information we've gathered have been considered. The repairs to your ship are nearly complete, but we need to discuss something important. Nalia paused, allowing the gravity of her words to sink in. There are factions among us who oppose aiding outsiders. They fear the return of conflict and believe that contact with other worlds could bring disaster. Your actions and the potential trust we might place in you could affect our future decisions. John felt the weight of their precarious situation. We understand the concerns of your people, High Counselor. We respect your decision, whatever it may be. We came here seeking help, and we hope that our presence has shown you that we are more than just visitors. Nalia nodded, thoughtful. Your words resonate with many. We will deliberate further and inform you of our final decision soon. As the crew awaited the council's verdict, they reflected on their journey, the unexpected friendships they had formed, and the lessons learned. Despite the uncertainty, their mission to return home had become intertwined with a deeper understanding of a distant world and its people. Waiting for the next chapter.